This is the Chardonnay from the Joubert Tradauw wine cellar. It's our flagship white wine, vintage 2015. It's a barrel fermented Chardonnay. The grapes is from an incredible site 100 meters from here. The grapes, the soil is well drained shale, Karoo Bockerveld shale, and the result in the glass is beautiful, intense fruit. Not too heavy, more elegant classical style, and I know you can't taste minerality, but there's a flintiness and a steeliness or a minerality in the wine, and it's a beautiful food wine, delicious with the boertie, pastas, and any seafood. The wine was matured in small French oak wine barrels for 12 months. 20% is new. The toasting on the barrels are all medium toast, so it's not a heavily wooded Chardonnay. Long finish, and we are lucky that our wines tend to age, white wine specifically, age between 5 and 10 years. We've been producing wine, like I've mentioned before, since '99, starting with the R62, the blend. Then followed the 2001 barrel fermented Chardonnay, in 2003 the Syrah, the first Syrah. And over the years of producing wine, we've always had people asking which one is your flagship, and I always said I don't have a flagship. We later on planted a small block of 0.9 hectares of the Cabernet Franc to see how the variety will do. And since 2008 it did fantastically well in the region, but we always blended it into the blend, the R62. And 2013 I kept one new barrel aside and bottled it, and it was just out of this world. And since 2013 we've been producing this wine. We call it reserve, Afrikaans word obviously for reserve. It's just tongue in the cheek, and maybe to stand up for our language, Afrikaans, which is a beautiful language. So this wine is at the moment, like I've said, only one barrel of 500 liters, new French oak, and 2016 will be 3 barrels. This 2015 was rated by the British wine master Tim Aitken, 94 points, and it's a beautiful, very typical example of Cabernet Franc, pencil shaving, dark fruit, and a bit of freshness, fresh fruit, long finish, and just a wonderful, beautiful wine. And we say on the back label you can drink it now through 2027, so it is a wine that will mature for a very long time. And it's a variety that we are planning on expanding, like we will do on in terms of red on the Syrah, also the Cabernet Franc. So next year, 2019, we are adding on another small block of Cabernet Franc. That is the story of the Cabernet Franc. The Syrah, Joubert Tradauw Syrah, it's the vintage 2015. We started producing Syrah in the first vintage was 2003. Before labeling the wine, we wanted to call it Shiraz, and at a tasting, most of the audience and tasters thought that it's such a original classic style of Shiraz that we should call it Syrah. And no difference between Shiraz and Syrah, but the style is more elegant and a more European style, and we can draw it back to the terroir, to the single site or vineyard where the grapes is from. It's again the combination of Karoo, heavy, beautiful Karoo shale and clay. So it's got very good water retention, and the Syrah started off as an experiment, and it has become a very popular wine in our lineup, and because of the uniqueness of the style. The grapes and the clone is an old French clone. We harvest quite late for South African Syrah. The grapes are only picked in middle March, towards the end of March, which is late. We have very warm, nice days, dry but cool evenings. So diverse between day and night, and giving us this nice savory fynbos spice and fruit, red fruit. That's why the wine is paired with the cranberries and ostrich. Yeah, that's the Syrah. Wood matured, 16 months French oak, no fining, no filtration. Okay, welcome in this boutique or family-owned little wine cellar, Joubert Tradauw. We are standing in the old maturation cellar where we mature our wines in French oak wine barrels. This is the whole range of wine. We have the Cabernet Franc Reserve, Bordeaux blend called Joubert Tradauw R62. We have the Syrah, and then we have a new wine called the Alternative. It's the alternative choice, lighter style, easy drinking red wine, less barrel matured compared to the other three wines. And then the two whites we have is the barrel fermented Chardonnay and the alternative white, which is a blend of Chenin Blanc and Chardonnay. It's an unwooded complex wine. Basically, to come back to the red wines, this video or clip is about how we make the wine in the cellar or at Joubert Tradauw. And in basic words, it's natural winemaking at its best. It's extreme winemaking. We live and we make wine in an extreme region where we have warm, hot, sunny days, windy afternoons, little water, so all our vineyards are in under irrigation. And I believe that to express the true terroir from this region, you have to be sensitive towards your region, your terroir, your land and your fruit that you work with. So we truly believe in minimum intervention. We work very hard in the vineyards and we make sure that our vines are happy, that we irrigate when we only need to irrigate. We only spray when we find it is only necessary to spray. Because of the dry climate, the cool evenings, we follow a very natural process in our vineyards, and we do the minimum sprays. We are not registered as an organic or biodynamic farm, but we do use and make use of the principles of both biodynamic and biological farming. Harvesting is late because of the cool evenings and the slow ripening. We basically start harvesting in March only, end of first or second week in March with the Chardonnay, and then follow the Merlot, which is part of the blend, and after that the Syrah, and then the Cabernet Franc, and late in the season, end of March, beginning April, we will harvest the Cabernet Franc. Most of our wines come from single vineyards or single blocks, and we hand pick early in the morning when it's nice and cool, no later than 11 o'clock, and we bring in no more than 10 tons in a day, 1 or 2 tanks. All the wines are then crushed, destemmed, and we do combined fermentation of spontaneous and commercial yeast and punch down, and we do a slow, long fermentation over about an 8 to 14 day period. The wines are then pressed and matured in these barrels for up to 24 months, and then preparing, blending, and bottled with no fining and no filtration.
I'm Mayor's wife. We started Joubert Tradauw in 1999 with our first vintage, the R62, which is the red blend. I decided then to write a book because I wanted to tell the story of the food, and you can never have wine on its own. You have to enjoy it with good food. So I decided to write this book. I wrote it in Afrikaans, Vir die Klein Karoo, and then it was translated into English, Taste Little Karoo. And just to show that today the barrel fermented Chardonnay can go very well with the bobotie. It's a Cape Malay bobotie. We also do a homemade pasta, tagliatelle pasta, with set mushrooms that we harvest or hunt in the forest. And then we also do our own peppers. We grow our own peppers. It's a burnt sage pasta. The recipe is in the book. So we burn butter and sage, and we add that to the tagliatelle and set mushrooms in a nice creamy mushroom sauce. The R62 is my favorite red wine of Joubert Tradauw because it's a blend. I love a red blend. It's extremely versatile with food. So it's a feast. You can prepare any feast with this wine. And what I love to do, it's also in my book, Taste the Little Karoo. That's on takealot.com, and it's at all leading bookstores in South Africa. But I make a pure Jersey beef burger. You can combine ostrich, which I've done in this case. We present it on a lovely piece of sourdough. We do our own butternuts shavings that we do like a chip. We do brinjal, and then we do our own tomato sauce with capers. We do a hummus, which is lovely and healthy, chickpeas made from chickpeas. And then we make our own, again, onion marmalade. We do our own white onion. You can be very versatile with onion. And then we just add a lot of greens and a piece of very matured Dutch cheddar cheese or Gruyere cheese that we add in. This is quite something with your balsamic refined or ended off with balsamic reduction. And as I say, it's the perfect match for my perfect or ideal red wine of Joubert Tradauw, the R62 red blend.